Hello, this is the Tradesight U.S. Stocks and Futures Market Preview for Tuesday, the 21st of March, 2017. Hope you're having a good week. Here's a look at the ES front month futures contract. Probably doesn't look very exciting because it probably wasn't. We got lost a couple points, and that's it for the session. We remain in this horrible range. It's been basically a month now. We were right here a month ago. The one big white candle was actually the gap up day after the speech to Congress, drift back after. The other day, a little move up and drift back. End of the day, we're still right where we were, and the problem remains the intraday action. Although I felt like today was a little bit better for the stocks, and there was some movement, some opportunities. And it was the first day of a new option cycle, so that's not usually that exciting anyways. So the fact that there was some movement was decent, but we're still not seeing a lot of, especially with our top pick today, the INVA. Really nice daily chart pattern that triggers, and almost nobody does anything with it. So that's kind of unusual. Let's go through the major stuff, and then we'll take a look at the intraday action, see what we got on the grid for tomorrow, go from there. So here's a look at the crude oil. We actually gained 9 cents to $49 contract on session. Gold was up 3.5, which is kind of a blip. So we had the S&P down almost 5 points. That does not give us a new count or a new bar towards the 13 sell signal. So we're still at 11. We would need 2 days up to get the sell signal. NDX was up 4. Let's see, does that give us a 12? That does not give us a 12. And by the way, we're now 7 bars up towards a new startup phase. So if we get 8, 9 out of that, we're going to get a recycle and not get to the 13 anyways. SOX up 7, new closing highs, but very small movement. Biotech's up 16, still operating under the 13 sell signal. You got the VIX up 6 cents to 1134. Which is, meaningless. We need those VIX numbers back up in the mid-teens and higher to get rolling here. Trend at 1.2, and that's where the 10-day moving average is, which one of the highest moving average points in a while. NASDAQ volume disappointing at 1.57 billion shares. That's less than every day last week except for Tuesday as we were waiting for the Fed. Just a look at the advanced decline ratio on the NASDAQ, negative 628. On the New York, negative 473. So even though the NDX was up 4, S&P was down 4. Way more stocks down than up for the session. Google loses 446 off of the closing high that it had. Remember, it has a 13 sell signal now in place. Apple up $1.47, and guess what? Go to projection mode. Look at today. Just got a 13 sell signal today. So we got both Apple and Google in sync with sell signals on the daily charts. That's pretty unusual. Amazon up 4.66. It had a sell signal a month ago that was the top. Been flat to lower until then. Now it's getting back up near those levels. Netflix up 72 cents. By the way, that gives you, I believe, a 12 on, no, not quite a 12 on Netflix. Tesla up 42 cents. TLT, the bonds, up 51 cents. So we swept the lows and came back up on the daily chart. Bonds, Goldman Sachs, which we are still short rolling over here a bit, down $1.80. Does not look good. Although it has completed a new 9-bar startup phase to the downside. So technically speaking, it has exhausted the 13 sell signal, but I'm still short and I'm going to stay that way for a little bit longer. We're in the money on it at this point anyways. Let's take a look at the intraday action. So we'll go to 5-minute candles on the ES. And here's what you got. Like I said, Friday was pretty boring. That was triple expiration. Thursday wasn't much better. Wednesday saw some volatility because of the Fed announcement. I would say today's better range-wise than Thursday and Friday. Almost got a 13 buy signal right at the low. Got to 12, not 13. I should point out, if we gap down in the morning, we're going to have a 13 buy signal on the 5-minute chart. So that makes for some interesting action early, potentially. Pretty rare for that to happen, that one candle would get you the signal out of the gate like that. But we did, like you see here, we gapped down a little bit, pushed a little lower, came back about an hour later, filled the gap. That was the high of the day. That, unfortunately, is right when 2 of our longs triggered off the report, and they just never followed through. And then it was a slow drift over lunch, dropped right coming out of lunch, went a little lower, and then came back and recovered. NASDAQ side about the same. Looks a little stronger, but it's basically been here for 3 days, which is basically the story right now. All right, in terms of economic data that's due, current account balance at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning Eastern time, and that is it. We've got more data on Wednesday and Thursday, a little bit on Friday. I'm still here tomorrow and Wednesday. I'll be on the road Wednesday night and gone Thursday. Well, no, I'll be around Thursday and then morning and most of the day and Friday just in the morning. Friday will probably be a little late. Next week's the end of the month. Not much else to say here. Nothing really to specifically look forward to this week in terms of data. We'll see what we get. Charts as usual, brought to you by eSignal. If you've not yet taken a trial of our services, feel free to do so. We will help you out for a couple weeks. Have a great Trading Tuesday.